Ukrainian forces continue advancing on the Kharkiv-Luhansk front. The Russians are scrambling to build up fortifications in eastern Luhansk as the new line of contact is established along the P-66 highway. The bridgehead across the Oskil River at Kupiansk has been expanded and is being joined with the advancing forces to the south. The Zherebets River still stands as a barrier in the north, but in the south, Ukrainian forces have crossed the river and are quickly advancing east to Kreminna and Svetove. North of Kreminna, Ukrainian forces have taken control of a segment of the P-66 highway connecting the two frontline cities, cutting off a vital supply route. Capturing these cities would open up the way for further offensives into the Luhansk region, giving the Ukrainians the opportunity to avenge the loss of Severodonetsk and Lysychansk earlier this year. Reports are circulating online suggesting that large portions of Ukrainian troops conducting offensive actions in Kharkiv and Luhansk belong to the International Legion, a group that's comprised of military veterans from 52 countries that have volunteered to join the Ukrainian armed forces, perhaps attributing to some of the success Ukraine has achieved over the past few weeks. On the Donetsk front, Russian forces continued to conduct offensive actions in the areas surrounding Bakhmut and Avdiivka. In Bakhmut, Russian sources claim that Allied and Wagner PMC assault groups are steadily making progress in taking the city. Around Avdiivka, the Russians claim they have advanced up the E50 highway and captured the village of Pervomayske. Control of this village and the surrounding highway south of Avdiivka cuts off supply to any Ukrainian forces in the villages of Odiane and Optine, potentially compromising the southern flank of the city. In Kherson, the front lines have stabilized after the Russian retreat that occurred yesterday. In the north, the new defensive line sits between the villages of Milove and Borozenske. In the south, light Ukrainian forces are launching probing strikes into the Russian defenses. Despite the frontline stabilization, Russian forces remain outnumbered and vulnerable to Ukrainian armored attacks across the whole front. The outcome of the Battle of Kherson will determine the tactical and strategic reality on the Ukrainian battlefield for the foreseeable future. And while the Ukrainians have been making significant gains, time works against them. In a few weeks, we will enter the rainy season. The ground will become muddy, and offensive actions like the ones we saw yesterday will become extremely difficult and costly. One of Ukraine's biggest advantages is manpower, but this advantage too will slip away as more time passes and more Russian troops are mobilized and trained. Russian President Putin signed a law officially incorporating the occupied territories into the Russian Federation, allowing him to send these conscripted soldiers to the front lines. Ukraine still has this small window of opportunity to overrun the Russian positions in Kherson, Luhansk, and Zaporozhye before the rains and reinforcements arrive, but this window is quickly closing.